Thanks for choosing us. A look at our stories now. And the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority in Tema has held its first joint consultative committee forum after a long break due to the COVID-19 pandemic. During the meeting in Tema, the committee introduced a new Tax Amendment Act called the GRA Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023, also known as Act 1093. Now, this act will bring amendment to some taxes, including adjustments to tax stamps on certain local and imported goods. Our correspondent Elvis Washington was present at the JCC meeting and has this report.
The Joint Consultative Committee, JCC, consists of clearing agents, custom officers, custom house agents, national security officers, and the GPHA, among others. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss new guidelines, policies, and regulations introduced at the port and address challenges faced by stakeholders within the ports. The head of excise at GRA, Kwabna Apil Iwa Anto, announced the introduction of the GRA Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023, Act 1093, which includes adjustment to taxes. He explained that the new tax stamp would replace the previous schedule, introducing new products, rates, and changing the charging methods for some existing products on the tax stamp.
This year we have introduced the excise tax stamp, or the Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023, Act 1093, that introduces, that amendment has actually replaced the first schedule attached to the existing Excise Duty Act 2014 at 878. And so now we have a first schedule that is the amendment to the excise duty law that has replaced the previous schedule. And what the new schedule has done is to introduce, first and foremost, new products into the excise duty regime. It has also increased the rates for excise duty for some of the products, and it has also changed the charging method for some of the products.
In a detailed presentation to all attendees, Mr. Anto highlighted the items affected by the new tax stamp.
So the new products that have come in, we have fruit juices being introduced to excise. So currently we have excise duty of 20% since May on fruit juices. And we also have introduced excise duty on electronic cigarettes and electronic liquids. And we have also introduced excise duty on all sweetened beverages. Previously, we had excise duty on only carbonated soft drinks. Currently, all soft drinks, all sweetened beverages attract excise duty. As I said, was only on carbonated soft drinks. The rate was 17.5, and that has been increased to 20%. And also, we have increased the excise duty on spirits from 25% to 50%. So these are the changes that have been done in the excise regime.
Mr. Anto mentioned that the new Tax Stamp Amendment Act was launched in August and will take effect on the 1st of October to ensure compliance with the new requirements for products entering the country.
So on the 7th of August, the commissioner responsible for domestic tax, Mr. Jamra, launched the program for the imposition or implementation of the tax stamp on these products and announced some timelines. And he said that from the 1st of September, we have started the program. Everybody should get ready to prepare for the program. Everybody should prepare for the program. And then from the 1st of October, enforcement at all the entry points will begin. So if any of the new products that did not hitherto attract the tax stamp is coming from outside, currently from the 1st of October, those products will attract the tax stamp. And then from 1st October to the end of December, that is 31st of December, that is the transitional period, meaning that all the products currently on the market, like fruit juices, like all sweetened beverages that did not previously require the tax stamp, we will stamp them. So all people who are holding stock of those products must approach the nearest GRA office and then apply for quantity of stamps to be affixed to the stock that they are holding.
However, Johnny Mante, the Tema chairman for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, believes that the announcement date for the implementation of the new tax stamp was late and the time frame for implementation and transitional period were too short.
And for us, the JCC is the solution center. That's where any problem within our space is solved. From here, we'll break into committees where there's issues and the problems that have been raised will be taken care of. Every single day, you realize that the processes within the port keeps changing and no adequate information is given. So again, we have it's come to everybody's notice that a proper work plan, which is already in the system, be communicated so people are able to know that what they are to expect within the port community.
For Joy News, my name is Elvis Washington reporting from Tema.
Now, the Ghana cedi is expected to remain relatively stable against the US dollar this week as risk of investor sentiments cools off. Now, this coming after the local currency lost 0.43% to the American greenback last week. Here's more in this report.
Demand for US dollar continued to outstrip supply despite a slowing inflation. This caused the cedi to fall to levels seen in the second quarter of 2023. The central bank provided $20 million in the 36th bi-weekly foreign exchange auction to the bulk oil distribution companies. But this was insufficient to slow down the rising corporate demand. The local currency lost marginally to the US dollar last week. Conversely, it gained 0.17% to the pound, but remained stable against the euro. So far this year, the cedi has lost about 11.6% to the dollar in the retail market and about 22% to the American greenback on the retail market.
Now, discussants at the graphic business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting today are making a strong case for further expenditure cuts to match the country's current economic situation. They stated that current development in the economy shows that the country is in crisis. Economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Ejapoma Jakeda, says government must show more commitment.
We have tried to put in certain policies that would help revive our economy. But
Economists in recent times have been asking government to be heavy on addressing the microeconomic challenges affecting Ghana's economy. Thus, they believe will consolidate government efforts in tackling challenges affecting the macroeconomic side of the Ghanaian economy. They're asking government to show more commitment in that regard.
I've put so much emphasis on revenue, but I don't think we are doing enough on the to be able to get us back to where we expect to be. As Prof. Gachi just said, if you put too much pressure on those who are giving the revenue, then in the end you are not going to be realizing the kind of revenue that you want to realize. And we've seen AGI complain several times about the number of taxes that have been imposed on them. Us as individuals as well, not just businesses, we've seen the taxes. And it's unfortunate that our economy is predominantly informal. And so when taxes are imposed, we see the same people paying the taxes over and over again, and that puts a huge burden on those people who are paying the taxes.
Chief Executive Officer of Petrosol, Michael Bosenbelt, said businesses are worried about the current development in the economy.
In moments of crisis, especially take a family setting, the focus is on food for the children. Is on basic needs. If you are flying, you're on air, and there's some emergency, whether you're in business class, you are in economy, that is not when you are requesting for some special, food to be served you because you're in business class or because you're in first class. at that moment, it's about safety. And so the focus is on, please follow the emergency rules.
Dean at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi noted that government can still do more to bring down the current situation under control.
What should be critical for us is what is the value of the indebtedness to the IMF, and not only to the IMF, to other creditors. Because when we procure debt, we need to see value in terms of infrastructure that we have built for ourselves. The question we need to be asking ourselves whether the large number of debt that we have procured is commensurate with the value that we have created with those debt, the infrastructure we have created, the program we have brought on board for the country. That is a critical thing that we need to be asking.
There's also a call to reassess government revenue mobilization drive to save businesses in the country.
When we are talking about taxation, we have to place it in context. You see, because, like I said, in other developed economies, the tax rates are high, but the government also takes care of the vulnerable. You see, so if you pay high tax and you know that whatever is left is mine, I can go on vacation, I can do whatever, because nobody is going to call you from, your extended family to say that I have this problem and I need help. Because if there's someone who is unemployed, the person can easily access unemployment benefits. So these are the areas that I think once we match both and we are increasing the tax rate, nobody will have any problem.
Moving on, economist Professor Peter Quartey has criticized Parliament for relaxing the Fiscal Responsibility Act to allow government to spend beyond the 5% of previous year's revenue without any timeline. Speaking on Ghana's public debt management at a development dialogue by the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Quartey said Parliament has failed in checking government spending. Here's a report.
The development dialogue focused on the country's debt situation and how the country can overcome the burden leading into an election year. Commenting on the losses recorded by the Bank of Ghana and the role played by stakeholders, Professor Peter Quartey expressed disappointment over the suspension of the Fiscal Responsibility Act without any time limit. He thinks Parliament can go back to make some amends in their next session.
You give timeline that, yes, okay, I'm giving you 1 year. Come back again, let's review the situation. COVID is not going to be, has not been with us forever. As we speak now, none of us are wearing masks. So why should you give somebody a blanket relaxation or blanket check? So that's where, for me, I find that it's wrong. Parliament should have given them, let's say, a year. Then the following year, they ask whether we need to put it back, or perhaps a lower rate is put in place. And then they have oversight responsibility of our finances. They have the right to haul the finance minister to Parliament. They have the right to haul the Bank of Ghana, the governor, to Parliament.
Professor Augustine Fosu from the Economics Division of ISE stressed the need for governments to raise more revenue before spending in an election year.
All over the place, spend. And so in the final analysis, what are you going to have? You're going to have a disequilibrium situation where you end up spending much more than you tax, not just cyclically, but also over time. And that is what is responsible for our debt situation.
The theme for the dialogue is Ghana's public debt management, facts, impacts, and the way forward.
Now, the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber is calling for the optimization of domestic gas production and utilization with clear pricing policies. According to Chief Executive of the Chamber, David Ampo, for the oil and gas industry is heavily untapped and needs to be explored further to realize its full potential. He was speaking at the annual Ghana Oil and Gas Conference.
Ghana's total oil production since 2010 stands 560 million barrels, while the total gas production since 2014 is at 1.2 trillion of cubic feet. According to some players in the oil and gas industry, the sector could produce more if the country's reserves are incentivized. In an interview, Chief Executive of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber, David Ampofo, said the country needs to increase exploration activities in the sector.
We want our reports to always end up with a focus. So at the end of the report, we are saying, what do we need to do? And we identify 2 or 3 things. Let's look for too many things. One is we want to incentivize exploration. Exploration is where it all begins. If you explore, you find oil, you develop it, you produce it. If you don't find any, you're not doing anything. Okay, I mean, look, you heard that just 2 weeks ago we had 30,000 barrels. It's coming from the good old Jubilee field. Thank God for it. But we need more of it. You can see the activity is very limited. How do we incentivize exploration? What are we doing wrong? What could we do right, let me put it that way, to get more and more investment? Foreign investment and local investment. When I talk about investment, I'm talking about both foreign and local investors. Of course, the magnitude of some of our tasks require huge sums of money that can only come from large companies. But working together, we go on. So that's a recommendation.
Government also reiterated its commitment to closing infrastructure gaps in the oil and gas industry to help the sector realize its full potential. The Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, in a speech read on his behalf, said government is working to close the gap to attract more investments into the sector.
The government is also working hard to close infrastructure gaps, to improve the markets and ensure that we get the most out of our hydrocarbon resources. The success of Ghana's and Africa's oil and gas industry in the energy transition era are dependent on collaboration to ease the necessary funding and establish adequate infrastructure and markets both in country and at the continental level. Partnerships must be formed between governments and private businesses and national oil companies across the continent. In light of this, the government decided, with the support of Parliament, to join the African Petroleum Producers Organization in August 2022.
The Chamber also expressed their interest in collaborating with government to address constraints facing the industry. Jesse Area Mabakpo's report read to you.
We'll take a quick break on Business Live. We'll be back with more. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Head of Civil Service of Ghana, Dr. Evans Agridako, has reiterated the need for lapses within Ghana's digitalization agenda be addressed to support data-driven decisions within the public sector. According to him, Ghana needs a holistic approach in its digitalization drive to ensure effective and efficient public service space. He was speaking at the graduation ceremony of the first Dig Smart training program held for directors, managers, and officers of various ministries.
Public and private sector players over the years have been urged to cultivate a digital-first culture and develop visionary leaders who are adept at navigating tech policy. The $1.2 million program is to build the digital skills of public sector workers to accelerate digital transformation for service delivery. Dr. Evans Agridako expressed optimism of how such initiative can aid in bringing efficiency.
So the connection is there. So an appreciation of the value, the utility of technology for me is critical for the leaders that we have. Because as I said yesterday, if you have a leader who himself or herself is congenital ignoramus, he doesn't see anything good about technology you are introducing. But technology as a threat to his or her survival at the workplace is dangerous, and I'm happy you people are taking this seriously. So colleagues, a digital mindset is a holistic approach that covers the following key aspects: adaptability, and I saw some of them here, continuous learning, very important, data-driven decisions, and I have argued that if you are going to formulate public policies based on guesswork, one conclusion is certain: implementation nightmares. You can guarantee that. So we want decisions that are data-driven, evidence-based, And that, for me, will actually be properly, positioned to address the problems of society.
Communications Minister Esla Owusu also stressed the need for a collaboration and a deepening of relationship for the private and public sector to drive such a digitization agenda.
The uptake of a lot of digital tools, applications and services, particularly in the private sector, but we seem to have forgotten that we need a responsive, agile civil service to also assist us in the delivery of our mandate, so that if you can retrieve documents quicker, get information quicker, and analyze the data better, it helps in your own decision making. But if information is scattered in silos, even seeing trends is difficult.
DigiSmart is a flagship program for TBI Digital Academy and the first of its kind to be developed and brought to 3 African countries, starting with Ghana as a pioneer and followed by Malawi and Senegal in 2023.
And that's our show for tonight. More news when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broom. Do enjoy the rest of our program.